Let's rank the Zeroth dragons.
Take a look at who I am now. I'm stronger than ever. And if you ever doubted me, you should've known better.
So when we first received all the effects for the Zeroth dragons, I made a video where I ranked them by power and impact on the game overall. However, since then loads of things have changed. The reboot came, rules changed, new support was added, and so by now that list is completely outdated. So I figured we'd do an update video for that. So I will be ranking the Zeroth dragons. I will start with the weakest and then build up, also giving some arguments for why I think this is the case. So at the very bottom we have Drachma. Now, from the very start, I have always said I think Drachma is a very bad card. Of course, it can give you a win here and there. You may catch your opponent off guard without any grade 3s in hand and just win out of nowhere. It happens, but overall the big issue is that while Drachma does force your opponent to discard some cards, does wipe their field, it doesn't really push to end the game, generally. Apart from the weird cheese where they can't ride or something like that, it just isn't very game ending. And so when you give up your entire G-zone to use a skill, it should end the game then and there, or you are gonna lose in time anyway. So that's why right now it's still the weakest one overall. However, it's still a valuable card to have in your deck. So if you have the money or you own one already, there's a point to having it, because sometimes it may cheese you that win, sometimes it may be the last thing you get to do. However, it's definitely not as good as the coming Zeroth dragons we'll be talking about. Now, next up on the row, I don't think we have to go from 6 to 1. I think some are somewhat on par. So on the next row, let's say, we have Dust and Stark. Now, Dust used to be the best, or at least in the top, but now, since the rules have changed and the reboot added some power creep when it comes to guarding, Dust is no longer as scary as it used to be. Back in the day, Dust made it so you could almost not guard because G guards were turned off and most of your big guards weren't as big as they are now. But now we have grade 0s with 15k shield, with 20k shield if it's a heal, grade 1s with 10k shield. Your grade goes to 1, but now you can actually even guard with grade 2s, which is something you couldn't do back in the day. 10k triggers are also way stronger defensively now, because back in the day you needed to see 2 triggers in order to be at your somewhat base power again, but now you only need 1. Overall, while Dust is still pretty scary in decks like Pale Moon, it simply doesn't do much anymore compared to some of the Zeroth dragons we'll be getting to soon. Now, I put Stark on this same level because yes, both can end games, both can steal games out of nowhere if your deck is in a really weird situation. Overall, they are not the main win con of any major deck in the format right now, and that's why they're here. They're still strong cards, you should probably still run them if you have the room, but they're not the primary win con of any relevant meta deck right now, and that's why I think they fit right in on this spot. Now, next up, one level higher, we have Megiddo. As I stated previously, Megiddo scales well with whatever units come out. So as the game power creeps further, both in standard and premium, we get stronger units, and these stronger units can be brought back by Megiddo. If they are restanders with more power, they will also increase the power of Megiddo. We see this already in the Skull Dragon combo Grand Blue God, where they attack 6 or 7 times with Skull Dragon, something crazy like that with Nightstorm and so forth. Because Skull Dragon is such a huge attacker, a Megiddo turn now is much more scary than a Megiddo turn back in the day. So because of that, no matter what happens, Megiddo will likely remain a pretty good card, apart from Ultimate Strike just being slow overall, because units will keep getting better. So I already alluded to it. Yes, Megiddo is an insane finisher in Grand Blue. Now, it's not as strong as some of the clans that we have right now, like in High Rolling Azel or something, but it's still a solid deck. And overall, we're also getting Bermuda soon with Force Circles potentially, making Megiddo even stronger. Now, if Aqua Force became a better deck overall, Megiddo would also be really nuts with them with that Excel Circle. It's just that Aqua Force is in a bad spot and therefore Megiddo can't really shine. Overall, Megiddo is just a very strong Zeroth dragon, great finisher in Grand Blue, and just has so much potential for growth because its mechanic gets stronger as the units get stronger. Now finally, we have the top row. Here we have the 2 strongest Zeroth dragons that put in the most work in the meta right now. Of course, we have Ultima and Zoa. Now starting with Ultima, just like how Megiddo scales well with new units that come out, Ultima scaled super well with the new triggers coming out. Because the triggers power creeped and give 10k power instead of 5, being able to stack them and giving them to all your units automatically doubled Ultima's power already, which is very nuts. But then it also scales with the amount of units you can have, meaning Excel circles with Ultima are really strong. And that's where we get into Ezel. Ezel is able to have multiple Excel circles, but actually even one is very scary already, because your opponent is looking at 4 attacks of potentially 50,000 power and all of them having 3 crits. That makes an Ultima turn just extremely devastating and hard to guard for almost any deck. Apart from that, it's also still a very strong win con in a Luard deck, so as Shadow Paladin keeps getting support, Luard can also keep on toolboxing whatever they need for the deck to adapt to the meta, and so Ultima remains a strong finisher in said deck that's able to stay somewhat meta relevant no matter what happens. Obviously it's not the biggest meta deck right now, but it is one of those contenders that you always have to watch out for regardless. And then of course we get to Zoa. I think most of us by now know Zoa, as when it came out it was the big meme. I made this video where Zoa had this epic entrance and then just was stopped by one perfect guard and that was it. Zoa was widely regarded as this card that auto wins, sure, when your opponent doesn't have a perfect guard, but generally your opponent will just keep a PG it, and then you lose your G-zone, so it was regarded as a pretty bad card. Now, we have Sentinel restricts in these decks. That makes Zoa a very strong card. We have Mega Colony with Ant Lion doing that combo shenanigans, making sure that they attack with 99,000 power and your opponent doesn't get to guard with perfect guards. And on top of that, they have Phantom Black that stops your opponent from guarding with normal units. This makes it so your opponent can only guard with G-Guardians and triggers, but that is not nearly as devastating as the combo Great Nature has, which is Zoa plus Rhino plus Monoculus Tiger, which makes it so you can either only guard with G-Guards or you can only guard with normal units. And of course, no Sentinels. So overall, Zoa is just one of those insane finishers right now. The only problem being that an Ultimate Stride is still pretty slow, and some decks, like, let's say, Ange, still have such gigantic G-Guards that they don't really care about this finisher. Or they can cheese out PGs through G-Guards. We have decks like Grand Blue with Negromora or Ezel with Solemn who can just G-Guard, get a PG, and since that PG is not placed from hand, it will automatically stop that Zoa, and then you will likely win the game. You do have to watch out when to use it, but usually it will be a game ender. So that is my list for how I would rank the Zeroth Dragons right now. If you don't agree with something, do let me know in the comments. Respectfully, of course, just tell me why you think certain cards should be in different positions. I'd love to read that. That is all for today. Hope you found this interesting. If you did, please subscribe to the Solemn Vanguard channel, click the bell button to stay up to date, like the video. If you liked the video, let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. I will see you soon. Ciao.